Hey, my people. This is your math helper, your lesson helper for lesson 12. And what this lesson is really all about is bringing common sense back to the problem. We're doing a lot of multiplying with decimal fractions, and sometimes we can get wrapped up in our tenths, our hundredths, our thousandths, and area models, and all of this stuff. And we don't really necessarily understand exactly what we're doing. We get kind of wrapped up in the place values. And what we want to do is maybe kind of use some common sense to help figure out when I have a product, where do I put the decimal point, okay? And so we're going to examine several problems. I'm going to give you several options, and I want you to think about which one might be the best option, and we'll explain why that's important and how that ultimately helps you in multiplying decimals. So to begin with, I want to write a problem up here. This is going to be 3 and 22 hundredths times 5. Okay, 3 and 22 hundredths multiplied by 5. And I'm going to write 4 possible options for the product up here. 1 and 610 thousandths, 16 and, sorry about that. It would be the 0 still though, but 16 and 1/10, 161, or 1,610. All right. I'm going to take my 0 off because I don't like the way that looks. So here are our options. And if I do multiply, and I do this just straight up, if I did say, well, let's do 322 times 5, I would get all of these. I would get 5 times 2 is 0, and 5 carry my 1, and 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And carry my 1, and 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 would be 16. So I can see that I'm getting the correct digits, so 1 and 6, a 1 and a 0. So all of these are using those the possible digits that we get from a product multiplying this. But only one of these is actually reasonable. Only one of these actually makes sense. And so what we want to start doing is figuring out, just real quick, looking at this, which one makes sense. What I suggest doing, one method would be, is to round. If we round this all just to the ones, or if it's a 10 to the tens, or whatever it is, if we round to this, that's going to give me an idea of what a possibility would be when I multiply. So if I take this and I round this to my 1, I'm looking over here, I have 3 and 2/10, and 2 is closer to 0 than it is to 10. So 3 and 2/10 rounds down to 3. And then multiply that by my 5. 3 times my 5, or just my whole number times 5, would be 15, right? 3 times 5 is equal to 15. And I know then that obviously then this is going to be close to what my product is going to be. 1,600 is way too much. So it was 161. 15 is really close to 16, and 1 is not going to be enough. And so just by that logic alone, just by that reasoning alone, I can tell that this is where I want to put my decimal place, in between the 6 and the 1 here, to be 16 and 1/10. And I can show that in a multitude of ways. I can show that by this way, my rounding method here. I could also show that using an area model. If I am going to do my area, I'm going to multiply that, and then I have 3 ones, I have 2/10, and I have 2 hundredths. Lovely handwriting, Mr. Abbott. I think. And all I need to do is, my 5 times my 3 ones gives me that 15 ones, and that's pretty much all I need right there. I can do my 5 times 2, which would give me 10/10, which shows me that I have another 1 to add on to it, but it still gives me enough of evidence to say, yep, this is definitely where it should be, right here at 16 and 1/10. Okay. So are you following along? Am I going too fast? Do you get what I'm saying? Let's try another one. 3 and 42 hundredths multiplied by 6. If I just look at that, what's my product going to be close to? And do the same thing. You can do the rounding technique here, where you're going to round it. Do you round it up or down? And then multiply that by 6 to get kind of a number. Go ahead and do that. Just do that in your head real quick. Are you ready? If I round that, I round it to 3. And 3 times 6 is 18. So I know it's going to be roughly around there. So I'm going to give you four possible answers here. Are you ready? It could be 2 and 52 thousandths. Could it really? Or this guy here, 20 and 52 hundredths. Or 205 and 2 tenths. Or 2052. Which one of those is possibility? The one that's closest to our 18 here. Okay, this right here is my rounding method. If I did my area method, which we'll do on the next one, to get our estimation, it would be like this. It would be 6 times my 3 ones, my 4 tenths, and my 2 hundredths. That's a, yep, that's what that says, hundredths. TH. And 6 times 3 is 18. And so I know that my answer has to be somewhere around 18. 2,000 is not anywhere close. 205 is not anywhere close. And yeah, that's pretty close. 20 is pretty close to 18. Definitely the closest out of all of these. Okay, so let's keep going, and then we'll talk about how this helps you. Okay, let's bust this down into the thousandths now, because we should take a look at that too. We have 10 and 733 thousandths, and we're going to multiply that by 4. And you're doing the same thing here. We have 10. 10 and 7 tenths. We can round that. Let's round that up to 11, and I have 11 times 4. Or I can do it with my area model. I have more digits, so I'm going to go with a longer rectangle-ish shape that I had here. 4, and I have 10, and I have 0 on my ones, and I have times 7. So this is my actually I shouldn't say I have 10. I should say I have 1 10, and I have 0 ones, and I have 7 tenths, and I have 3 hundredths, and I have 3,000. But I know I'm estimating. I don't need to do these. I don't need to get that detailed, that in depth. I have 4 and I have 1 10, and that gives me 40. And I have 0 ones, so that's not going to come into play. I have 0. So my answer is going to be around here, somewhere around here, around 40. 11 times 4 is 44. So it's going to be, I can tell that it's going to be somewhere around 40. So if I have, if you do your multiplication, and let's say you line this up, and you go, yeah, it's going to be like that, times 4, okay? And you get an answer that looks like, what do I want to try here? Let's try this one. That looks like that. That's 4,293. Is that anywhere close to 40 or 44? No, it's not. And so you can tell, you can ask yourself, wait a second, my answer is way off. My answer is not even close to that. Obviously, I did something wrong, and obviously, I need to go back and check that. Okay, so so let's check this out then. We're doing some real. This is the real world, right? Let's do some math. I have, what does that even mean? I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Let's do this. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry my 1. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Carry my 1. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 1 is 29. Carry my 2. 4 times 0 is 0. Plus 2 is 2. And then I have 42. There we go. So, wait, why did I put that there? That ruined my whole thing. Let's just say I just do this. And you shouldn't just bring it down. That's ridiculousness. I don't know why I did that. You shouldn't just bring it down. What you need to do is, obviously now I did my multiplication, and I have 42932. I have those digits, okay? And I know up here by looking at my estimation, I have 44. I have 40s somewhere in the 40s. So as far as my placement of my decimal goes here, I'm not going to put it here. That would not make any sense. And I wouldn't put it here either, because that would give me 429. I did put it here, and so it kind of ruined my whole shebang. But I would put it here because 42 is a reasonable answer comparatively to what I have up here. Okay, and so we're talking about reasonableness. We're talking about what makes sense. Yes, there are strategies for this. One of my students today was like, "Can we just walk it out, boom, and then walk it back in?" Yes, you can, and these are strategies that make sense, and they're easy for you to memorize. But ultimately, I want you to know this. I want this to make sense. That when you're looking at an answer, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Rather than, yep, I did the rule. I know what I'm supposed to do. I want you to understand not necessarily just what the rule is. Okay. Last one, and I'm going to leave you with your work. I have 5, 7, 3, 3. Sorry, that's 5 and 733 thousandths multiplied by, let's do 4. Okay. So 5, 7, 3, 3. Multiply that bad boy by 4. 4 and 3 is 12. And carry my 1, and 4 and 3 again is 12 plus 1 is 13. And carry my 1, I have 28, 29. Carry my 2. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 2 is 22. 9, 3, 2. What is a reasonable place for me to put my decimal place? Think about it. And how do you know it? How could you explain it? I'm going to give you some seconds to think about it, and I want you to compare it to what I say. Okay, there's several different ways that you could go about explaining. One, you could just multiply your whole numbers. Round this one, round this 5 and 7/10. You can round it up to 6, and 6 multiplied by 4 gives me a product of 24. I could also say over here I wanted to do myself an area model, and I wanted to multiply by 4 and 5, 7, 3, 3, and I wanted to figure this all out. And this is my 1s, and this would be my 10th. And if I did 4 times 5, that would give me 20. 4 times 7 would be 28, which is really 2.8, so it's around 22. So I know that by both of these have confirmed to me that there's around 20, and that the best place for me to put my decimal would be right there. Okay, so that's really where we're at. You really just you can pick any strategy, any model on this that you feel works best for you. And whatever works for you to understand as far as being able to explain it. Can you explain it, using an area model? Can you explain it using rounding? However you can explain it, just try to understand why it works. And I hope this helps. And bring any questions you have, of course, to class. And be awesome, because you are awesome, and I see it every day when you're here. So have a great night, and I'll talk to you later.